What's up guys, Vylocity from Pitchfork Academy back with another quick Unreal Engine 5 tutorial, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to combine and pack textures entirely inside of Unreal Engine 5 using the texture graph tool. Not only will this improve your workflows, but it should also help improve performance because you can potentially use less texture samples to achieve the same outcome. Just before we hop into the tutorial, if you guys like what we do here at Pitchfork Academy, the number one way to support us is to check out our new game, Skyblocker, which we just released on Steam. It's a fun and competitive 3D puzzle game where you battle the elements and gravity. It's complete with awesome unlockable block skins, multiple levels, and a global online leaderboard to compete with your friends and others around the world. I hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed making it. Now let's get into the tutorial. Alright guys, here we are inside Unreal Engine 5.6, and if we want to enable the ability to combine or pack textures, all we have to do is go to the Edit tab here at the top, and then go down to Plugins, and we want to search for Texture Graph. And here it is right here, it's the second one, Texture Creation Tool using Graphs. Just go ahead and enable that and click restart, and then I'll meet you back here after it reloads the project. All right, next I just want to download a quick texture set from Fab using a free Megascan Quixel texture. So I'll just go to Window and then Fab, and then I'll just search for the Quixel. We'll do Quixel Rock. That should give us some good examples. I'll filter by material and texture, and then at the top here by free. And I'll just pick really any one of these that we can use as an example. I'll choose this rock cliff here and add to project. Click the agreement and accept. It should download and bring us right back to the engine. I just want to use this as an example of a reason that I've had to use texture packing in my own projects. So once we have the texture here, if I open it up, go to textures, you can see that there's 4 textures just for this one material. And it used to not be like that in the old version of the Quixel plugin. The ORM texture that you see here used to be an ORD, and D stands for displacement, which also means height. So as you can see here, we have a height texture that is a separate texture all on its own and takes up an entire texture sample in your materials, which isn't that efficient. And then we have an ORM texture here that is for the ambient occlusion, which if I unselect G and B, we can see what's on each channel. So this kind of looks like the height, but it is different. This is more defined detail for the ambient occlusion, sort of the self-shadowing. And then we have the R, which is roughness. It's really hard to see, but if I zoom in, you can see some streaks for the rock cracks there. And then the B channel is for the metallic, which stands for M. So as you can see here, this is totally blank and it's being wasted because this is a realistic texture. So how do we combine the H into the M slot here, how it used to be? This really helps if you're working with landscape materials or something that you know you're not going to use anything that's metallic. This 4 textures is a waste. So let's go ahead and look at how to create a texture graph and pack this height map into this ORM texture. Next, I just want to make a quick folder for our texture graphs. So I'll right click in new folder, name it texture graphs. That way we can keep our project organized. And then inside of here, I'll right click and go to the texture dropdown and then find texture graph. I'll name this TG_ORD, since in this example, we'll be changing an ORM texture to an ORD by replacing the metallic for the displacement. And now we can double click to open it up. All right, here we are inside the texture graph, and we have just a single output node for one single texture. And then we have a drop down for some common settings that you might want to set for your texture. For example, where the texture is going to export to. In this case, it's the last folder that I was in, so it's going to go to texture graphs. The file name, this is going to be the name of your texture. The width and height, that can be auto. And then some settings about the format and the LOD group and compression settings. For a mask texture like we're creating, where there's different information on different channels that gets used separately, we do want to change the compression settings from default to masks, no sRGB. And then we also have this sRGB boolean at the bottom. I leave this checked off. I think that these might do the same thing, but just for good measure, I use them both with this one off. And that should be good for what we're creating. Now I can go ahead and right click and search for texture. And once we have the texture, you can name it to keep your graph organized. I'll actually do that. I'll call this one R, and then I'll copy and paste this one, call it G, and then we have B. And then I'll right click and search for combined channels. And this is the secret sauce for combining the textures together. You can just plug R into R, G into G, and B into B. Again, this might be a roughness texture for a character that you have. This could be a metallic texture, and this could be an emissive texture. And then you can combine them all together inside here. So then we can plug RGB into the output. It's the top one here. And then we can also use an alpha. So I'll actually just copy and paste down here, and I'll call this alpha. Plug that into A. Now we can just quickly put some example textures in here. I'll just choose some default ones that come with the engine. Make sure that they're all separate. Alrighty. And then as you can see here, if I zoom in on the right, we can see a preview of everything. So it's going to look pretty crazy, but that's good. That means that we're getting a lot of different information in the different channels. And if I unselect RGBA or just GBA, you can see that's our R information. It won't look red in actual material. It's just showing this as an example. It'll be fully white. There's the G, the B, and our alpha. So now we can go ahead and name it. We'll call it T_test. And I'll just export it now to that texture graphs folder. And we can go ahead and check and see what it made. So if I double click this to open it, you can see that it is a PNG because we get the checkerboard. And that's the top here. You can see RGBA. If I unselect A, it will just be the RGB information. And then if we do just R, you can see there's the fully white R, and then the G, the B, and the alpha. So that's all working great. Now, if we wanted to do something a little bit more complex, like change an existing texture to be from an ORM to an ORD, we can actually do that now. So I'll just go ahead and delete all these. So I'll leave the combined channels node because we'll definitely need this anytime we're packing a texture together. And then I'll right click and search for texture once more. And I'll call this ORM because in this example, I'm switching an ORM texture to ORD, switching the metallic for the displacement. And then from here, we can duplicate this, and I'll call this one the displacement. And then from here, we can go back to our content browser, go into Fab, and find that ORM texture in our rock folder. So here's the ORM. So as long as I have it selected, I can go back to my graph, and then I can select my ORM, and then click this little arrow either here on the node or here in the details panel, and it will just fill it with that. Next, we need to get the displacement texture. So I'll just go back. It's this black and white one here, the height. And then I'll select this one and then click the little arrow. And now we have both of those. Now all we need is a split channels node. So I'll right click and search for split. And then we'll split the ORM into RGBA. And we just want the R and the G, which is the O and the R in our texture. So now that we have the R and G, we can get the B from the displacement. And now this is technically the ORD. It's going to be the OR from the RG, and then the D from the displacement. And then here we can call it the name of the texture. So I'll just go back to the rock texture just to keep the name the same. I'll click on this ORM texture, and then I'll click F2 to rename it. And then I'll copy that. I won't change the name there. And I'll just go back here, paste it in the file name, and then I'll change M to D. Now we are good to export, except I do want to change the location to this Megascan surfaces rock texture here, texture folder. So it's going to be right next to that ORM. Now that that's updated, I can click export and then go back to content browser. And here we go. We got the ORD texture. You can double click to check this out. And then I'll also get the ORM as well. So here's our original texture. You can see it's not as detailed as this one because this one doesn't have any information in the blue channel. It's totally black using metallic, but since the rock doesn't need metallic, that's why we're going to use it more efficiently, and we're going to use the displacement in the B channel. So as you can see here, we have the height texture in the B channel, and we still have the roughness in here and the ambient occlusion in here in the red channel. So that is how to pack textures and basically, switch anything that you currently have to a new format or new layout using this texture graph tool. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this quick video on how to combine and pack textures inside of Unreal Engine 5 using the texture graph tool. If you want to learn more about the texture graph tool, definitely let me know down below in the comments. You can use it for all sorts of things like creating shapes and textures from scratch or editing existing textures, maybe to stylize them a little bit. So yeah, let me know down below if you're interested in that. And as always, if you learned absolutely anything at all, it'd mean a lot to us if you left a like on the video and subscribe to our channel. And definitely go check out Skyblocker on Steam. This has been Vylocity with Pitchfork Academy, and I'll see you in the next one.